You can move to most states, from one state to another. I just talked with someone on my Paralegal Coffee Talk page on Facebook who moved from Ohio and relocated, didn't say what state, but I will assure you it was not California, who puts a lot of boxes around paralegals, okay, as far as getting into the field. So, and that means you have to have a 2-year degree and or certificate, okay? It's either or usually. But in the other states, it's much more flexible. So when you are, let's say you're a military spouse, or you're in the, well, not in the military, but you're a military spouse, and I've had this question. How do I, can I take my career from New Jersey to Florida and my husband's going to be stationed at Eglin Air Force Base, for instance. I'm making this up. But my uncle was stationed there in 58 to 62-ish. So the answer to that is yes. Now, do you have to learn some things? Yes. If you're going to be if you're already working in this field and you're switching from state to state, well, depending on the area of law you're working in, you have to learn like what laws apply to what's surrounding the law. Like you're working in, let's say, litigation, but it's personal injury. Well, there are laws in that state that apply to personal injury. And so you'll have to learn that. There's different rules of procedure, civil rules of procedure. Or if you're in federal law, it'll just be like the court system, it will be different. The locations of the court, how many courts in your area. But in federal court in Florida, there were several regions, but in a smaller state like Rhode Island, there wouldn't be as many. And you have to get to know those courts and their websites and all that. So those are things you have to get up to speed on in order to say, oh, I understand this and this and this about this state that I'm moving to, when you're applying for jobs, because the attorneys will have their doubts. This is what I faced when I moved from Oklahoma to Florida, and the attorneys had their doubts, and I had to prove it. And this is part of what I teach my students in the Beginner Paralegal Growth Accelerator course. So it's overcoming obstacles like this, and you make, by understanding this, that you can move except to California. If you were moving from Ohio to California, it's a whole other thing. Now, somebody asked me about remote work. What do you do if you're living like I am in Tennessee, but you're working for somebody in Florida? Or what if I were trying to land a job in California remotely? Would I have to then meet that criteria for paralegal regulations? Well, it says I have to if I plan on calling myself a paralegal. See, so there's the interpretation, could be where it's like I can't call myself a paralegal then if I don't meet that criteria in California of a 2-year ABA approved degree and or it's really or certificate. So it can feel confusing, but honestly, when you start building this career, you're building one flexible career, not a 9-to-5 job. You are working that. You are working under somebody. But are you as restricted as you think when you feel like I want to change my jobs or I want to work remotely? You're not. Only if you want to work in California and call yourself a paralegal. So understand your regulations. Google all this. Really research it. Find out what applies to you when you want to do these things. Moving from state to state right now is pretty easy. So there aren't all those boxes put around you except in good old sunshine. Well, it's not the Sunshine State. Florida's that. California. Okay, so understand what you're building is pretty incredible, and that, okay, and don't listen to too many opinions. Find out what the facts are. This is what we do as paralegals. Don't listen to hearsay and nonsense. One person in a group said, oh, it's so hard to move from state to state. I beg your pardon. No, it's not, except moving to California and expecting to call yourself a paralegal when you don't meet their qualifications. So really understand that. The other states, not so much. I had an experienced paralegal email me. Oh, it's been a while ago. It's been years ago now. Saying, you're doing people a disservice because you're saying, like in Virginia, for instance, you can only be called a paralegal in these two ways. No, it was, and that was incorrect. Her proof was incorrect. I went right to Virginia's regulations, and there was a third way to call yourself a paralegal besides a degree and a certificate. The third way in Virginia was to work for an attorney doing paralegal work, which you would probably be doing anyway, for 5 years, and then you can call yourself a paralegal. Is that worth your investment? So when people start spouting knowledge and it's erroneous, that's a disservice. See, so make sure that you get the facts for yourself and not listen to a lot of wrong information, including from paralegals. Always test what I say or anybody else says and base it on fact. Okay, so have a great day today. Stay tuned for the workshop coming up in about 2 weeks. I will post more info about it. Free workshop, landing your first paralegal position within 30. I want to always say that. Maybe I should change the title. Landing your first paralegal position without experience. And then there'll be a paid workshop after that, a VIP workshop. So stay tuned for more information. I'm adding another module of information to this one. So stay tuned for this. This will help you so much. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you in the next video.